Hi, and welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is the region's first podcast focusing on all things insurance and Insurtech in the UAE and the broader Middle East. I'm Ranjit Philip. I consult with startups in the 0 to 1 stage, going up to Series A, and help them with strategy, funding, business model, and go-to-market.
Hi, I'm Vidya. I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to build their go-to-market digital propositions. And today we have with us Preeti Mundhra. Preeti Mundhra is the CEO of Tree Digital Insurance. It's a Saudi Arabian-based digital insurance provider. It is the first of its kind in the country. It has already launched with its motor insurance product. Now, Preeti brings with her a very strong banking experience, having been part of the core team of Live Bank in the UAE and Way Bank in Kuwait. So it was a pretty interesting conversation. I really hope you enjoy listening in.
Hi, today we have with us Preeti Mundhra, CEO of Tree Digital Insurance, a Saudi Arabia-based digital insurance provider that is already live with its motor insurance products and many more to come, but we'll dive into that later. Preeti, great to have you with us. Welcome to FS Brew.
Thank you so much, Ranjit and Vidya. It's always a pleasure connecting with you all. So thanks for having me on.
Perfect. So let's straight away dive into the first question. This is a pretty obvious one. You've had a number of years working in the banking industry, and dare I say, welcome to the light side. How has the transition to the insurance industry been? What can you tell us about both of these sectors?
So yeah, after being in banking for 15 years, I decided to switch gears, still within the financial services space, but a different angle, right? So it's insurance. There's quite a lot of common ground, given that it's still dealing with people's the monies and finances. So there's common ground, yes, but there's also so much new ground to cover. It's been very intense. The last 8 or 9 months, I do believe, I feel like I'm in a university again, just trying to do a 4 years program in less than 6 months. It's very intense, but a very interesting, learning experience as well. So I'm really glad I made this shift. It's been a good way to shake up some past experiences and also bring them from a new perspective. So having said that, I do have some very early stage thoughts on how the two industries are similar but yet very different. Banking, for example, if you see, is a fairly high touch industry. It's a little more tangible than insurance is. What do I mean by that? So you interact with the bank a lot more regularly than you would with your insurance company, whether it's using the card, getting your salary into the account, making your savings, and every other payments decisions, you end up interacting with your bank a lot more. And that's how banks actually, make their business profitable. So opening an account is the very first step. They need you to come back again and again so that this relationship starts becoming profitable for both the customer as well as the bank. Insurance, on the other hand, if you see, starts with making the policy purchase.
Yeah.
And after that, strangely enough, both the company, the insurance company and the customer wish that they never have to see each other, especially if you're writing claims, right? So this is a mindset that I think needs a bit of challenge. We need to challenge this underlying thought that our job is to sell the policy and then just hope that the customer never shows up for a claim. Driving engagement within the insurance industry is definitely a huge area of opportunity, and that's where I think there's a lot that insurance can learn from banking. Also within the region, I believe that the banks have had a little bit of a head start when it comes to digitization.
Yeah.
quite a few digital banks around. I've personally worked on two of the most interesting ones, Live and VI in the region. So I can say that, banking took up the digitization charter much earlier within our region. Insurance is just starting out. So very early days, the Insurtech environment here, the community is just starting to, come together. And there's a lot of room for maturity in that.
Yeah.
That's how I would see the two industries from, a vantage point.
Yeah, no, that's good points. I think I was going to ask you about the digitization maturity, and I think you're right that insurance is still playing catch up in that sense. Strangely enough, though I haven't figured out why that is. I have a few thoughts on that, but we'll save that for later.
But conversely, I think a lot of digital insurers or insurers are trying to find ways to crack that whole engagement piece that you're talking about, Preeti. I mean, there's a lot more stickiness with the banking, insurance. I think there's a lot more creativity that needs to go in. But on that itself, tell us a little bit more on Tree's business model. Interesting name, by the way. Tell us a little bit more on the whole business model in KSA. What sort of insights went into it to developing a brand like Tree. Tell us a little more on the customer insights or the market insights to get to the stage.
So as the name suggests, it's a very fresh approach to insurance, and why Tree? Because there's only positive connotations to this. It's all about growth and protection and being solid and strong. But what makes us different? Where did we want to start things differently? Was to challenge a mindset of fear mongering and say that the purpose of insurance is not just to protect what you have, but to enable you to enjoy, your resources and create many new memories and experiences with those resources. And these are both tangible as well as intangible resources you have, So if it's about the car, it's not just about protecting the car, but giving you the confidence that you can enjoy and unlock so many new experiences with your car. So drive around with peace of mind. If it's about your pet, you want to build those bonds and know that your pet is in safe hands while you build those relationships out. So whether it's your health, whether it's the personal belongings you have, whether it's things you believe in, it's your digital identity, whatever it is, the purpose of insurance is to enable you to unlock the potential of those resources. And that's where the role of Tree comes in. That's the role as a catalyst, not just to protect, but to empower you. Why this approach? Because I believe the generation that we are now targeting, the young millennials and the Gen Zs and the ones that will come up in the next few years, it's really less about protecting what you have, but driving more real life experiences out of that. So it's less about ownership and more about what do I get out of this particular interaction. And with that, when our parent company, Tawuniya, was starting out on a very, ambitious strategic plan a couple of years back, they realized within the insurance industry, there was need to introduce a way of engaging with the young audience with a brand that spoke their language, that really tried to simplify insurance and experiment with new ideas. What our parents cared about protecting a few decades back might not be what we care about today, and will definitely not be everything that our young ones will care about tomorrow. So how do we experiment with new ideas in a cost-effective way, testing new technologies? Not all of it will work, but you still need to be able to test fast, learn fast, and fail fast if you need to, and bring new ideas and innovation to the market while making sure that you keep things simple. So that was the point where, Tawuniya decided that let's introduce an altogether new entity, a new brand, and a new interface that will engage with the youth of Saudi, and see how we can then take this approach around the region and expand and scale up to meet growing needs of youth around the region, not just in Saudi. So that was the starting point. These were the key insights that led to starting out afresh with Tree.
Right. Okay, that's pretty good. So it's a sort of a digital insurance brand of Tawuniya itself, is what you're saying then.
Not just that. So Tree is a fully independent legal entity. Yes,
Okay.
we are 100% owned by Tawuniya, but we are also fiercely independent.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is it's a separate organization.
Okay.
While I lead it, I have a full team, cross-functional, and our own technology, our own policies, procedures, etc. So it is owned by Tawuniya, but with a very strong mandate to be an independent operator.
Got it. Perfect. And you talked about the young millennials, the Gen Zs, and perhaps even the very young Gen Alphas who are possibly joining the workforce in 5 to 10 years time. Now you've been across the region. You've been in UAE and Kuwait. So what is sort of is there one type of personality or brand or customer persona that you can point to in GCC, or are the KSA youth different in their sort of attitudes, behaviors, their likes, dislikes? What are you kind of finding? I know it's early days, but I thought
see, there are certain common traits you will find across, not just in GCC, around the world. There's a level of unification that's happening because of all the exposure to digital and social media and to technologies, right? So the fact that customers want things to be instant, they want control in their own hands. They want to be the ones who decide when, where, and how they will engage with brands.
Yeah.
They don't want to wait for a banking branch to open at 8 in the morning and then do their banking activities. While back at Live, it was very clear. We saw that more than a third of our customer account opening was happening between midnight and early morning.
Okay.
And that would not have been possible in a traditional setup. And when it comes to insurance, what the young people in the region and definitely in Saudi are looking for is simplicity. Can you talk to us without using jargons that seem to confuse us?
Mm-hmm.
Make things instant. I don't want to go through 5 different handovers and then have a policy document in place.
Mm-hmm.
Worse, if I have a claim, I need you to use intelligent ways to settle my claim instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that the money is in my account as early as possible. Right? So simplicity and being instantaneous are 2 very primary needs that we've observed, research after research. But the one that makes me most excited about what Tree is trying to do is flexibility. So instead of trying to sell a big bulk of insurance to the young generation, how do we offer them flexibility, make insurance accessible, more affordable, and more bite-sized, right? So today, I might say that, yes, I need a cover when I'm traveling to GCC countries, but maybe 6 months from now, I get into a job that does not require or does not allow me to travel as much. I don't need that cover. I should have the option to cancel without being penalized. Similarly, when COVID happened and a lot of people started working from home, they had cars parked in their garage and they were paying insurance for it, but they were really not driving it, right? So when you drive short distances, when your car is really not moving around much, but still you need to protect it, what are your options? How do you get, the concept of pay how you drive, pay as you drive? These are not new for a lot of the other global markets, but in the region, these are still very nascent subjects. So offering customers a lot of flexibility, not just when they're buying, but also during their engagement for the 1 year or 2 years that they're around with you. These are some very interesting upcoming needs that we see with the young generation.
Great, perfect.
It's fabulous. I mean, to be able to have that insight coming through from the market, because typically it's considered that pay as you go might be working for a bigger, global, geographically bigger market, but then you are picking these up as insights in KSA itself, which is interesting to note. Now, tell us, Preeti, you mentioned that you've been yeah, on this role for about 8 to 9 months now. What are your top priorities at this point for Tree? And especially in the context of what are you seeing as gaps in the markets, and how's Tree then sort of helping bridge those gaps and addressing them?
See, our top priority is to have a technology stack that can enable this rapid innovation that we are talking about, that we're very positive about bringing to the market. Now, whether we want to make insurance instant, flexible, or invisible in some sense, and I will elaborate on the invisibility part of insurance in a bit, you need strong technology and an ecosystem of partners that can actually power that. So we work with some very interesting partners, and we continue to build on that strength to be able to enable this. That's the first part of our top priority. And the other is to put together a very young, talented team, again, diverse, not all from the insurance industry, because you need an outsider's perspective. You need someone that will not come with a preconditioned mindset and is willing to challenge norms and ask some very basic fundamental questions that, having been in an industry for a long time, you might stop asking those questions. But for an outsider, it's like, why do you do it this way? And why do you do it that way? And that's where the change really starts happening. So building the team, building the technology that enables it are, some immediate priorities. And of course, building that trust both with our end consumers. So getting that brand out in the market and showing our commitment that we are here for the long run, and we are here to enable the youth. Building that brand, from a very trust and innovation point of view is where we are focusing right now.
Got it. That's interesting. I mean, I like that point about invisible insurance, and I think you're possibly alluding to embedded insurance. That is a pet topic in this podcast. We kind of attack it at different points. So tell us a little bit more on your thinking about invisible insurance. By the way, I'm stealing that, Preeti. That's great. I'm going to steal that.
Okay. Feel free to. Often we think that creating a journey where the customer has to come to my website, has to come to my application, or even worse, visit my physical branch to get a service or a product, that needs challenging. We need to become available at a time and place that suits our customers the most. And think of it like this: when you're out shopping on Amazon, for example, or even on Hunger Station, you're out there ordering food. Your frame of mind is ordering food. But at the same time, you know that you're digitally exposed. You're buying something that might need protection. So doing it in that moment when you're making your purchase decision is a lot more powerful than expecting that as an afterthought, the customer is going to take time out and visit your platforms to make a purchase. That's a lot of wishful thinking. So going embedded for a lot of these micro insurances and parametric insurances is absolutely the right way to do it. There are ample, examples of successes with embedded around the world. You need scale for that. You need the right technology, and you need the right partnership ecosystem to make it happen. But that's the right way to do it. And that's where a lot of time and effort should be invested in our region.
No, that's good, actually, because now I think we can almost scrap the next question. I was going to ask you, and this is under the assumption that you don't already have customers. This is an interesting question for us to know from an Insurtech or a new brand's point of view is how do they plan to get the first 100 customers, right? And I was going to talk about B2C and how expensive it is to kind of get those guys on SEM and on marketing, digital marketing. Now, this whole argument on embedded makes me think that your CAC is going to be pretty low if you believe in those partnerships, right? Is that going to be your majority approach, or do you see it's going to be a mix of channels that you're going to have? Would be good to know.
So let's start with where are we at currently. So we launched our very first product, the smart cover for motor insurance, in December last year. And we are already actively serving customers, more than 14,000, if I may say so. So yes, the first 100 customers, we were very careful. No big bang announcements. We wanted to make sure that what we were introducing was stable and solid. And we also knew that the first iteration will not be your best iteration, and that's the concept of being agile, being able to test, your minimum viable, minimum lovable product. Yeah. So we went out, we started with focused performance marketing. Everything was just based on digital acquisition at that point. And we had a very clear idea of what kind of customers we were wanting to acquire. So digital marketing definitely enabled that, reaching those customers directly. And what was more interesting was you start seeing all of these insights coming through as more and more of them go through your journey, and you see what percentage converts, where do they drop off. A lot of our effort has been into, learning fast and reiterating. So we are already on to our third iteration of the sales journey itself.
Okay.
And this is obviously based on the cues we pick up from customers, both structured feedback as well as unstructured feedback you get from Google Analytics and from what customers are saying. Yeah. So back to the point about embedded insurance, yes, absolutely. It is where the next big magic will happen for our industry in the region. Having said that, I don't think you work only as embedded. You need to be able to offer certain products and solutions directly to customers. For some products, going embedded is your first priority. Especially, if you think about cyber insurance, protecting your digital identity. Those are things that extended warranties. These are things that naturally lend itself well to embedded. But there are certain other things where you need to look at partnerships with aggregators. And motor is a huge example of that, right? A heavily dominated market by comparison sites, and customers are into that habit. So when it is about making a larger scale purchase, whether it is for your health insurance, for your car insurance, you would need to be able to offer a seamless online experience from your own website or application. You also need to be able to provide these services from partners like banks and aggregators. And then the embedded is definitely more for bite-sized micro covers that are a fraction of the cost of the actual original purchase you're making. You're out there buying a television for yourself or buying your latest gadget, and you have an embedded cover that's a fraction of it.
Yeah.
That's in the moment purchase, and it makes sense. But when it is slightly larger ticket items, you would need to be able to offer seamless online experiences. B2C, B2B2C.
Right. So you're playing it by the product essentially. So that's a good way to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you mentioned 14,000 customers. So this is your current customer base already in the 8 months of launch, is it?
That's right. Yes.
That's fabulous amount of numbers actually. So that shows the power of the whole Saudi Arabian market as well. So let's talk about the whole, the Saudi Arabian market itself on a general level, on a consumer perspective. what are the trends that you are seeing in the personal line space? And earlier on, you spoke about, digital assets protection, personal belongings, pet insurance, and so on and so forth. What are the trends that you are seeing and, are monitoring very closely that you want to perhaps tap into?
Saudi Arabia is obviously the region's largest market and has a huge population of youth. This is also a market that has a fairly large middle class, and the realities of life are the same for a lot of the youth, whether you are, a Saudi national or you're an expat making a life and livelihood in Saudi Arabia. There are a lot of real day-to-day challenges they deal with. Cost of living, for example, has really shot up in recent times. And globally, we've seen the pressures of inflation are showing everywhere. And this market is no exception. So when that happens, there are certain costs people are unable to cut back on. And then there are certain discretionary expenses that you will start cutting down on. And for some of the mandatory products, we see there is this tendency to downtrade, why go for a full comprehensive if I can find, I need to comply with the laws, so I will go for the, the bare minimum third-party liability. And at the same time, they know that they're exposed. They know that they're not fully protected. With these cost pressures comes this inherent need for flexibility, making insurance affordable for the large masses. You don't want to go bare bones third-party protection, just meeting what the law asks you to do. And you cannot always afford the full options of, comprehensive. So you need to be able to offer these customers something that's in between. I want to protect my legal rights and obligations, but I also want to take care of my assets without burning my pocket to a very large extent. So that's where I believe, not just in motor, but in a lot of the other areas as well, there is so much room for innovation. Allowing the customers to decide what kind of covers they really need and pay just for that. What you don't need, don't pay for it. At some point, if your needs evolve, if your wallet permits it, come in. You don't need to cancel your previous policy and then buy out a new policy. No, you should be able to top up easily. You should be able to, get additional cover very easily. So pressures around costs and affordability are showing, and that's where we need to come out with many more creative options for customers across personal lines, and also even within the SME space. There's a growing crop of small and micro enterprises, and their needs are not as sophisticated as the middle group and the large corporates. They do not, but they still need a lot of covers and protection for themselves, their employees, and their businesses. This whole concept of affordability and flexibility and making things more autonomous for the customers, giving the control back in their hands, those are some very interesting emerging trends. We are watching this very closely, and we are trying to, constantly study and evaluate what's this mindset of the value maximizers, people who are not your minimalists, who are not out there looking for the cheapest option only, but who are willing to pay a little extra as long as you can convince them of that value that you're bringing. And that's the sweet spot that we're trying to operate in.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Preeti, because we know of an insurer called, I think, 1 Degree out in Hong Kong. And then we spoke to the CEO of Yas Insurance, again, I think Hong Kong based. They're doing similar, bite-sized and, value for money, kind of switch on, switch off kind of products. So interesting developments out there. So now switching gears a little bit from your sort of personal and career point of view, what do you Tell us a little bit more about your leadership style when it comes to leading an organization like Tree, just starting out and, getting into that brave new world of digital insurance. And leading from that, what advice would you like to give to aspiring CEOs in the insurance industry or generally in the financial services sector? And then after that, I'll throw in another one later. So I'll let you answer these two.
So yeah, it's my first time playing the role of a CEO. And while the title says Chief Executive Officer, to me, honestly, the E stands for enablement. My role here is as an enabler.
Right.
I am most often not the person with all the answers in the room. I don't pretend to be the expert in the house. I have quite a knack for identifying talent. It's something I pride myself on. And that's what gives me strength as a leader, that I don't need to know all the right answers. I just need to make sure that the bright, young, talented, passionate people that I have hired in my team have everything they need to do their job right and well, right? So that's my leadership style. I set a direction, but I expect and I enable each of my team members to be self-starters, to be leaders in themselves, and make decisions. Absolutely. And then that's a culture that, we are promoting and we are building on every single day. Make decisions, own your decisions. Not all of it will always be right. And when things go wrong, there's always a way to work around it. There's always a way to recover from it. Like they say that no success is final and no failure is fatal.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in that.
Nice.
I want my team to have a safe comfort zone where they feel safe enough to experiment, own up to their decisions, and drive it to till the end. And if things do go wrong, it's fine. We learn from it, and then you're back up again, going forward. So
yeah.
that's where I believe I make a difference as a leader that has also grown through the rungs and been there, done that, but allowing people to grow and mature in their own way.
So be a tree. Get them to be a tree in the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge vote of confidence in me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other CEOs will identify with this. When you see the young talent that you had identified at some point has now gone on to lead organizations of their own and create innovations and become this force in the market. It's a sense of pride that you would feel pretty much as a parent when you see a child go out there and take on the world. So that's a huge part of what drives me as a leader, to see my team members really take on much bigger challenges as they grow and mature.
Yeah, absolutely. And my follow-up was going to be this whole switching between one sort of industry to the other. People may perceive it to be a fairly risky one. What is the sort of decision-making framework that one should use, or what you used? It'll be interesting to know.
So this change came about in a very interesting way. I was obviously, I had spent quite some time in Dubai in the banking space, built the first digital bank there with a young team, moved on to Kuwait, and then this change came about at a time when I was not even, looking for change. But when I was presented with this opportunity, my thought process was, it's a challenge. Absolutely uncharted territories, new market, new industry, and stepping into the C-suite roles. Everything was new in that sense. So I took time to do a little bit of an evaluation of, did I have, from my past experience, did I have sufficient knowledge that was transferable, that I could bring from my knowledge from banking, digital banking, and startup to this new opportunity? Did I have enough transferability of that experience? I felt yes. The other part of the matrix was, okay, this is high, but for me, is there enough opportunity to acquire new knowledge? And that was very high, the ability to work in the largest market in the region, in an industry where there was so much room for innovation and disruption, and a lot of growth and development for me personally as a leader, moving into, the CEO role and doing stakeholder management of a very different level.
Mhm.
So this is typically my matrix or my guiding matrix whenever I've made my career decisions is, do I have enough transferable knowledge that I can bring from the past to the new job? And getting into the new job, is there enough opportunity for my personal learning and development and growth? If both of these quadrants take you to the high and high option, you shouldn't think more about it. Just go for it.
Great. That's also kind of good guidance for young folks out there to actually grab hold of a lot of these fungible skill sets during their career so that they can make these kind of switches when it comes to it. So that's good learning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I had a follow-up question on to that as well. So you were talking about the industry and coming in and switching gears. What are some of the challenges that you were facing, or you faced, or you're currently perhaps facing, or even now, from a talent perspective, from competitor landscape perspective, or even from regulatory perspective? What are the challenges? If you can talk through that, and how are you overcoming it?
So some of the challenges I would say are common to pretty much all early stage startups, where you are trying to put together a team and set a plan that gives you enough direction, but also gives you enough flexibility to operate and reiterate, because what you think was possible a year and a half ago might change as reality moves along. So those challenges aside, I think talent is definitely something that we sometimes struggle with in the region. That's because while some of the other markets, like, if you look at, you gave examples of Hong Kong, and Southeast Asia is way ahead in terms of innovation and having a lot of talent that has worked with new age technologies, especially within the insurance space. You go towards the West, you find, a lot of talent. But our region, given that the digitization is, only in the last few years that this phenomena has started, there's a lot of room to groom and build that talent pool locally. It's quite hard to bring that talent from outside because many of them will not come with a sense of commitment. It's a very short-sighted vision or plan that they come with. So you need to be able to build that talent locally, and that takes time, that takes courage, and commitment to to the youth. So talent is definitely something that hinders us from time to time. But I'd also say that I've been very fortunate in identifying some brilliant team members and cross-industry. Not everyone in the Tree team comes from an insurance background. I'm a prime example, but the rest of my team also is from across different industries. And it's really about the attitude they bring, the mindset they carry, and the willingness to learn. Of course, you need insurance specialists within the team, and we do have those skill sets. Apart from talent, I would say, from a regulatory framework, things are starting to mature. We are working very, very closely with the regulator here in the market, and they really are looking at Tree as a case study, as an opportunity to define what the Insurtech regulations should start looking like in the years to come. So we have a lot of support from them. We have, we engage with them quite regularly. So We have mindset. We have a board that is very committed to our innovation agenda. They want us to be very experimental. They want us to be very independent and make quick decisions. Right. So we have all the right ingredients in place. So gives me a lot more confidence. It's really less about challenges. It's more about what opportunities we are able to unlock from here.
Perfect. Great. Now, I must commend ourselves that we did not mention generative AI or chat GPT for so long. So well done to us. But now we'll do that. So how are you utilizing, AI in your startup? And what do you think generally, some of the trends in terms of digital marketing are going to be? For example, search engine marketing may be different now that AI is going to take, a large language model is going to take 50% of our volumes. So do we spend that kind of money on search engine marketing anymore? And what happens internally? What tool sets, what mindsets, as you mentioned, have to change in an Insurtech to utilize AI?
So it's very powerful what AI can do for our industry. I'm sure you guys know that insurance, while a lot of effort has gone into digitizing the front end experiences, on the back office front, on operations, there's still so much manual processing and manual handovers that still continue. And that's where I believe AI can play a vital role, a very pivotal role in bringing in smart automations and making sure that the people that you have in the team are using their time and knowledge, not just to do repetitive processing work, but are actually using their intelligence for solving more complex problems and cases. While, the enablement you get from AI allows you to automate a good 60, 70, 80% of your back office work. So your people are able to work on more quality rather than quantity of work. To me, that's a big area AI unlocks in terms of fraud management, in terms of automation, and highlighting, alerting people when there is a need to intervene. On the marketing side, it's extremely dynamic. What was true a couple of years back might no longer be true in a couple of months from now. Of course, ChatGPT and the likes of it are going to significantly redefine how we create campaigns, how we roll out campaigns, who we reach out to, what information they get about Tree. Yeah. Not all our customers are going to come to the website or to our own social media pages to consume information about Tree the way we want them to.
Yeah.
That the power of generative AI is that what they will know about Tree and what they'll understand about Tree is not just from our perspective. It's about what everybody else is saying about Tree and writing about Tree. So having that very open mindset and being switched on about what are customers saying about you, what are people writing about you, what are people posting about you, because all of that will go back and feed into what that generative AI is going to produce for you. So that's going to change. Having said that, I think the fundamentals of performance marketing are not going to change. The tools will keep evolving, but the fact that you need to be able to identify your customers, target, retarget them, and convert them for your, in the fastest way, those fundamentals won't change. The tools that make it happen, yes, they will keep evolving from time to time.
Got it. Perfect. I think there was a clue in what you said there. I think perhaps, the good old content marketing may come to the fore again, where you have, maybe you place your articles in some of the blogs that are associated with your subject and stuff. So if you have more people amplifying what Tree is all about or what your company is all about, that's great, because that gives these generative models more content to chew through, right? So interesting.
Yeah.
And in your startup itself, Preeti, do you follow a very hybrid model in terms of having all your tech experts, some of them in-house and some of them, through partners, or do you have all of them in-house? What's the sort of, structure of the model team?
See, in terms of building out tech capabilities, you have to rely on a hybrid model. There are certain core capabilities. Sooner or later, you need them in-house. You might start out by hiring consultants or specialists who work on a project basis, but eventually critical tech functions and capabilities, both technology and product management, you need them in-house. However, we also keep experimenting with, augmentation and working with very capable partners who can take on specific projects and pieces of work. Sometimes they would deliver it end to end, and sometimes they would, their team members would work alongside ours to deliver. So hybrid is the right approach. Like I mentioned, alluding to the earlier point of talent, technology is one area where we still, as a whole region, we struggle to have a steady flow and a stable group of technology experts. So going hybrid and building a work culture that enables that hybrid work culture. So you'll have some team members who are based here, some team members who are full-time but based elsewhere, and certain team members who are not full-time, who are just working on a project basis, and could be onshore, could be offshore. You need that infrastructure and the work culture that allows such a setup.
Great. Awesome. So I think that it sort of brings us to the close of the podcast, actually. So, we have a very interesting question to ask you. So if you get a billboard for an inspiring or a motivational or a business message, whatever you want to put it out there, what would that message be? Could be a
So it's
personal
not a line that I came up with, but it's something that defines a lot of how I think is. Focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So very forward-looking and positive way of creating change.
Right. That's great. That's a good one for our industry for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It can be very tiring if you're fighting the old, but it can be very entertaining if you're focusing on building the new.
No,
perfect.
That's a good one. Absolutely. Great. So and that brings us to pretty much the end of the podcast, and we slip into a very interesting section of the podcast. We call that the rapid fire. And this is just to get to know the leader behind, the organization. We typically ask such, serious questions. We thought let's just understand them as a person, as a personality as well. So we've got a few questions, and I think Ranjit and I will take turns to ask you. So Ranjit, can I go ahead and take the first three, and then you take the next three? Yeah?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if you are ready, Preeti, let's dive into it.
Sure, go ahead.
Awesome. So tell us about your hobbies and interests outside of work.
I'm an avid traveler, an adventurous. I love hiking, climbing mountains, and taking long road trips with my family. And I love meditation.
Wonderful. Saudi is a great place to do all of that, actually. What's your favorite book or a podcast or a magazine that you follow, and why?
So, of course, magazines, a lot of the business newsletters and magazines we do, but one that keeps me very charged up is Deepak Chopra's podcasts. I absolutely love the way he helps people build a very abundant mindset. So, I love listening to his podcasts.
Wonderful. And who is your role model and why?
So very interesting. My role model is actually my mother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
She's an incredible woman. She's been a homemaker all her life, extremely grounded, but she's someone that has taught me life's values in a way that, that I wish a lot of other people have opportunity for. Just staying selfless, staying content. And, she gives us all her love and care with no expectations. And she has this magical power of remaining detached while, taking absolute care of you. So one wonderful, and I'm so grateful to have her, as the mother for the rest of my life.
Fantastic. We have to make sure she hears this podcast, Preeti. So, all right. So I'll take a few then. So what is your favorite thing about living in your city? Notice we didn't pit Riyadh against Dubai or anything like that.
Well, I still keep flying back to Dubai, but to me now, Riyadh is where I live, and I'm absolutely enjoying it. I really hope that a lot of people within our region get the opportunity to come visit Riyadh and see how the country has really transformed. You can feel the energy in the air. You can feel that positivity buzzing in people. It's a city, it's a country under massive transformation, but you can feel that positive energy in the people you interact with. There's, you are part of that change. I'm part of that change right now, and I love that energy. Absolutely.
Perfect. And if people are looking to move and work in the Middle East, what would be sort of your one or two key pieces of advice?
Do you mean people that are not already in the Middle East, but are thinking of coming here and making a career?
Yes.
Okay. Couple of pieces of advice for them. Please don't come on your high horses, assuming that you come from a developed market and you're coming into a place where we still ride on camelbacks. And no, this region is probably leading the digitization agenda right from government to private entities. We are a lot more advanced and mature in many, many different ways, and a region that values culture and commitment above anything else. So please, when you come here, don't just come for a short fling. Come here with the intention to become part of this this culture, this region. Be willing to bring your knowledge here, but also open to a lot of new learning and lessons in humility.
Perfect. So come with an open mind is what you're saying.
Open mind, 100%. I've seen quite, unfortunately, I've seen, few very capable talents from outside the region who come in here thinking they know it all. But then, there is a very strong reality check and humility. Grounding happens once they are here. So come prepared for that.
Yep. What would you say is your biggest fear?
Fear. See, I'm normally a very, very positive person. There's not much that I fear, but maybe I could say that, I would dread the day if we ever have to go back into lockdown. I cannot imagine not stepping out of the house and traveling. It can be very stifling. That's something that I probably dread.
Right.
Nothing.
Got it. And what would you say is your biggest dream?
I live every single day. So to me, it's as long as I can keep going back to bed every night, knowing that I've made a difference. I've created impact, however big or small. If every single day I can do that, I'd say it was a life well lived. That's it. Nothing more.
Fantastic. And I think that's a brilliant way to bring the podcast to a close. It's been super awesome to have you here, Preeti. It's been fantastic.
Thank you so much, Ranjit. It was such an interesting conversation with both of you. So thanks for having me on this podcast.
Thank you.